Hey, what is up, YouTube? This is Bo3 Farnsworth, and in today's commentary, we're going to talk about something that has been an issue in the sports combat arena and the MMA scene recently, and that is weight cutting. Now, if you don't know what weight cutting is, it is the process where a competitor adheres to a strict diet leading up to a fight, and a week before the fight, typically the fighter will eliminate his carbs from his diet and up his water intake from like 2 to 3 gallons a day. And a couple of days before the fight, a fighter typically eliminates the salt content from his diet. And what that does is, salt, it helps you retain water, so it gets you prepared for the next phase of the weight cutting process, which is about 24 hours before weigh-ins. And that is the wonderful sauna. I've had some serious memories with the sauna, the dreaded sauna. But that is a process of when a fighter goes into the sauna, full sweatsuit on. Some fighters, even if they got a whole lot of weight to cut, they'll bring a treadmill in there. Not a treadmill, but they'll bring a stationary bike in there and to help them cut weight. Now, this weight cutting process is a whole lot easier the better shape the fighter is in. Now, this process gets extremely dangerous when fighters try to cut 30, 40 pounds prior to a fight in a very short time period, which can lead to some serious health problems. Now, a couple of years ago, a fighter was fighting an event in the Philippines, and he was rushed to the hospital. He was trying to cut weight, and he passed out. He was rushed to the hospital due to dehydration and possible heat stroke. And a couple of years before that, there was a fighter in Brazil who passed out right before weigh-ins, and he had been taking diuretics to lose the necessary weight, which diuretics has been banned in all MMA sanctioned events in the United States. Unfortunately, both of these fighters passed away in the hospital. And recently, I think it was less than a year ago, Dadda 5000, his fight with Kimbo Slice, which was probably the worst MMA match in MMA history. But yeah, he was cutting weight, which is rare for a heavyweight to do, but the heavyweight weight restriction is 265. And I guess he had tried to cut 40 pounds, which he cut the weight. Yeah, he was rushed to the hospital and he almost died. Now, it's mostly lighter weight guys that have issues because heavyweights, for the most part, don't cut weight. And if you look at sports like boxing, which boxing was around a lot longer, they implemented something to where you had to weigh in a day before the fight, and then you had to weigh in the day of the fight. And I think in professional boxing, I think it's a 7 or 8 pound limit to where you can't be over 7 or 8 pounds of what you weighed in the previous day during the weigh-in. So, you know, that was a safety thing that boxing implemented, I don't know how long ago. But I'm thinking that the UFC and other MMA organizations might utilize something like that, because MMA fighters cut weight like crazy. I mean, you got guys like Conor McGregor who cuts, and he'll easily put back 25 pounds the night of the fight. In a 24-hour period, he rehydrate his body and put it back on.
But Bo3, I don't understand. If it's so dangerous, why the hell are these fighters cutting all this fucking weight?
Well, they're cutting the weight because it's a huge advantage.
So you're saying if a guy's heavier, he'll win?
No, not always. But what I will say, if you got two competitors that are equally skilled, the bigger guy normally wins.
I got you, Bo3.
So let's say a fighter makes weight, then there's that process of rehydrating, which, you know, you drink your Pedialyte and you slowly want to bring water back into your body, slowly. And some fighters back in the day, I mean, not too long ago, but they used to go to the doctor and get an IV put in to replenish their fluids. But that's been banned in the United States, and organizations have been trying to do things to make things a lot safer. Now, me personally, in my career, when I started fighting, I mean, I was walking around at 183 soaking wet, and I fought at 185, so I was like a natural middleweight, which is 185 pounds. And I was fighting a lot of guys who were, you know, at least 15 pounds heavier than me. So I decided to get bigger, and I put on about 20 pounds. And it took me a while to learn how to cut weight safely. So I finally did. So towards the end of my career, I will weigh in at 185, and then the next day of the fight, I'll be back up to 205, and that's pretty much the norm, gaining about 15 pounds. 10 pounds at least, but like 15 pounds. It's very few fighters that fight at their natural weight. Very few. When I was preparing this commentary, I was really trying to make a connection of the dangers of weight cutting and fighters dying in the ring. Because if you look at, like, historically, fighters that have died in the ring, I mean, put aside fighters with pre-existing conditions, you know, that's a medical thing, you know, they weren't checked out and all that stuff. But I'm talking about fighters who were healthy and then they fought. Now we're talking about boxing because boxing has been around a lot longer, and there definitely is connection with fighters dying in the ring and it typically being in lower weight classes. I think that is due to the fact that lighter fighters have to cut weight. And when you cut weight and you have not fully rehydrated, it definitely affects your brain, which is, you know, makes you more susceptible to concussions or even worse. Overall, MMA organizations have been trying to make this whole weight cutting issue a lot safer for the fighters, but ultimately it is a fighter's responsibility to cut weight as safely as possible. Well guys, let me know what you think about the issue. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not subscribed and all of that wonderful stuff. This is Bo3 Farnsworth, the commentator, formerly known as the only pugilistic COD commentator in the business.